Well, ladies and gentlemen, so welcome to our weekend special Boganza video of KRS. And today we're going to be doing a video on finding success through your weaknesses. And the reason why this is a very important video because we all have weaknesses. Yet what happens most of the time is that people who concentrate on their weaknesses let their weaknesses take over their life. And I see this literally every day actually, because through all my social media network, do you know how many emails I get? Like around 5,000 to 7,000 emails from commenting on Facebook, from commenting on my YouTube, on commenting on Google Plus, and my actual emails coming in. Oh my God, I can lose my head sometimes looking at my emails in the morning. But, in these emails, I see how people are, scared and afraid to try something new because of their weaknesses, because of what they have encountered in their life that keeps them away from achieving their real goal. And especially when I received this, email regarding, hey, I know you want me to write. I love writing, but the thing is, I can't write. I'm really bad at it. And so, is there something else you think I can do? What about I did this? What about that? Then that particular message made me reflect on my own stuff. And I'm like, okay, this person is 25. When I kind of discovered my weakness, I have had weaknesses since I was born, since I started school. And that weakness was my ability to write, my ability to comprehend language. And reading was not as bad, but it was tough. But the thing is, at the age of 21, 22, when I was in college, I kind of discovered that, there's something called dyslexia. And then, I think I have this. Because as growing up especially when I grew up in India, oh my goodness, it was so hard for me to write a sentence properly. No matter how hard I tried, I would write things in reverse. Adjective will go before the verb, and verb will go before the predicate, and I could drive myself crazy even now. I hate it when somebody looks at it, it's like, oh yeah, your verb. Like even when I was going to college, just up to 2 years ago, I was slowly going to college. I was going to college back in, when I was 21, 22. I'm a happily college dropout, but at that time, I could just see all the mistakes that I used to make in my English papers or any paper that I used to write. And I'm like, oh my God, am I that stupid that I can't just simply comprehend a sentence? Is this my life to be known as somebody who can write English, especially in the United States, and being an Indian? Holy smokes. And that was my biggest weakness, is anytime when it came to writing, comprehension, I was just ridiculously bad at it. But guess what that turned me into? That turned me into a writer. And it's so awkward when, especially even now, if somebody asks me, so you're a writer. I'm like, yeah, I write. I love writing. I've written a sci-fi book. I've written astrology books. I've written romantic novels. And it's like, wow, so who are your favorite authors? How many books did you read books since you were a kid? And I'm like, oh no. The only person that I really concentrated on just for 1.5 years were Paulo Coelho and Dan Brown. I've literally read every book of Paulo Coelho between 2008 and 2010. And same with Dan Brown. All of his Illuminati and Freemason books that interest a person like me. So I read them, and that's it. I've never been interested in reading, never been interested in any kind of author, or taking advanced English. God, forget advanced English, or not even basic English. But the thing that I discovered was that I was very good at putting my thoughts into words. Like when I have a thought, I can literally write a book in one day. Like my sci-fi book that I wrote, Kairos, The Message of Pascal, I wrote the first draft of 250 or 60 pages within, I would probably say 2 weeks. And then it took me a long time to perfect that thing. So look, I grew up as a person not knowing, especially in India, oh, I was dyslexic, and I was just used to be shouted by my parents, by my teachers, you know, what the hell's wrong with you? Why can't you just write this similar sentence? And even now my wife catches it on Facebook. It's like, you know, you wrote your sentence in reverse, and you will see me on Facebook, the thing would be edited after a while, because I still go through that. I still go through this process of writing things in reverse. I see comments on my books receiving, Raj, you have a lot of grammatical errors in your book. You wrote this sentence in reverse. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of know that. Now, it doesn't bother me anymore. First, it used to bother me growing up when I wasn't aware of my weakness, that hey, I actually have dyslexia. I've never been diagnosed with it, but I kind of figured it out, what it was. And then I'm like, yeah, this is kind of me. But that's what, you know, drove my entire life. My weaknesses actually made my life and my dreams come true. Because I discovered that, okay, even if it's a weakness, I'm still able to put my thought into paper. And for some reason, the way my brain works, I can just write things nonstop. Because the thing is, for me especially, I can see things towards the end. I see every word before I write on the 100th page, what I will write. I can see that. And this may sound crazy, but hey, that's how my brain works. This is why I look at astrology in the most different way than compared to anybody else. I kind of like to stop looking at negative things into negative things. I look at negative things and turn them into positive. When I see in your chart, you have a weak Mars, I actually push you towards being more aggressive. I push you towards more being, you know, having a stronger willpower and being very competitive. Because look, sure, astrology is there to show you all the weaknesses. You know, I get people who have all sorts of different weaknesses, different issues in their life, and yeah, that shows in horoscope. You know, dyslexia is seen from Mercury, because Mercury is your comprehension skills. When that is a little screwed up, then yeah, you will have this kind of a problem. But just because a definition says that your Mercury is screwed up, doesn't mean that it doesn't have 20 other meanings. So if somebody would have looked at a Mercury and said, okay, you have dyslexia, but guess what? Mathematics will be very easy for you to do. For you, going towards piano, just go become a pianist. You'll be a great pianist. That's how I look at things now. Because when I was bombarded with all the negativity, all the criticism, my whole ego, my self-esteem was just like low. But obviously when you come out of it, whether it's the timing of Mahadashas or this, you know, divine universe giving you something to be aware of, you're like, okay, what? It's my weakness, fine. But guess what? I had written 7 books. So when I see people's horoscope, I'm like, man, this person should be doing business. But then what happens is they're like, well, I don't have the will to compete. I'm not very good at being very competitive and aggressive. Well, then you can't really make that your mantra of life, can you? So when I hear that, I'm like, okay, so fine. You don't have the competitive power because you probably never dove into that situation. That becomes very important. You diving into that situation. Kind of like my main man, you know, to Anthony Robbins that I listened to, gave a very good example. He's like, when you do not know how to drive a car and first time you drive a car, you're always looking at everything. You're making sure you're looking at this mirror, that mirror, that mirror. You want to, you know, not fail the test. And every time you drive for the first month or 2, you're always looking, oh my God, can I change my lane now? And now it becomes automatic. It becomes repetitive motion. So it's automatic. You are driving, you're thinking about something else, but you're stopping at the red light, changing lanes properly. Why does this happen now? Because you put your practice into it. So fine, you have a weak Mars, okay? Sure, your Mars is receiving all the negative aspects, so your ability to compete, you become very fearful of it. You become very scared of competing. But the thing is, you're only scared because you've never done it repetitively. Once you do things repetitively, it'll build up as a part of your DNA. That, okay, I'm competitive now. I hated basketball. I couldn't even make a layup as a kid. But I kept trying, because they make you try, because I was in PE in high school. In basketball classes, you played basketball during those days. But then suddenly, one day, I kind of made a shot. I'm like, whoa, that feels good. So I kept shooting more. And next thing you know, I'm like staying after school for 2.5 hours straight, just shooting. And then next thing you know, it becomes my passion, my love. Something that I never knew, never experienced, never gave it a try, is now my lifelong passion, basketball. So when I see all these weaknesses in you and I see the strengths, and then you kind of revert back to me about, hey, look, I love doing this, but guess what? I have this weakness. What am I supposed to do? Can you please, I just need to know something else. I'm like, no, I'm not going to suggest you something else. If that makes you happy, if writing books makes you happy, don't give a rat's ass if you are bad at grammar. Write your book, have somebody edit the book for you, which I do now, finally. So with every weakness, there is a solution. Like people used to criticize me back in the days, in my YouTube channel days, when I started doing astrology. They're like, man, I've had people say this is a devil's work. You're a scam artist. You don't know anything about astrology. And I used to feel so bad. I'm like, wow. But then I kept hearing those criticisms every day. Because look, I'm exposed to literally 22 million people now. I'm exposed to, on a daily basis, to 150,000 people. And just like my mentor, my guru, Jeffrey Armstrong, said, that 1/3 will always hate you, 1/3 will always love you, and 40% will always be undecided. So no matter how much you try to impress everybody, how much you try to make everybody happy, there are going to be people who will slip through the crack. And especially now, I get these emails from people who are so obsessed with me that it's their mission to just make sure they criticize me. I mean, now it's like literally every day I get those criticisms. Every day someone calls me a scammer, someone calls me a looter, someone calls me a deceiver of the people, someone calls me I'm doing the devil's work, people writing special blogs on me. So it's going to happen. So this is why you can't be afraid of success either. Not only should you take your weaknesses and turn them into strength, but don't be afraid of success, because this will happen to you. You're going to be exposed. The more you're exposed to people, the 1/3 section will keep getting bigger. Instead of 10 people, as I had maybe like 3-4 years ago, now it's a million people. So a million people will be saying this to me. Another million will be saying, wow, he's great. He's the best. I love him. The 40% will be saying, oh, who is he? Oh, okay, well, whatever. And this is something you have to overcome as a person. And that's what I did. Because now when I get all these threats, when I, get people calling me this and that, and it just comes and goes, Certain people, of course, I have to get my attorney involved with, because they go a little bit too far. They cross that legal line. So that's where my attorney gets involved. But otherwise, I can't stop anyone from saying this or that about me. I refer back to what Jeffrey Armstrong told me. 1/3 will always hit you. Doesn't matter if you are Yogananda, you are Rajneesh, you are Krishnamurti. I mean, if you watch the new documentary on Yogananda, I mean, the whole US was against him at one point. They thought he was a complete scammer. What are you going to do? So this is why, once you find your weakness, don't turn your back to it, say, okay, what are my strengths? I'm only going to go towards that. Because guess what? That weakness will follow you even if you do something else. And this is why I always say, stop relying on astrology so much. Don't look at what you read about your Mars, your Mercury. Well, your Mercury is debilitated, so it will not let you do this, this, and this. And then you're like, well, if it's not going to let me do this, this, and this, then maybe I should just do this. But you don't realize Mercury will always follow you in no matter what you do. So might as well do something that you love and just work at it. Without work, you will not be able to get into this auto mode. So as much as I'm bad at English, I am probably the only one I can say just write if I thought of a book today, I can write it in 3 days now. I can write a 150-page book in 3 days. For me, when I type, I just type. My brain just keeps going. I don't get tired. I don't get lazy. I just type. How many grammatical errors that I have. But I can finish it. And I'm like, well, look, I just helped people through my astrology books. They understand aspects better. They understand conjunctions better. They understand the basics of astrology a lot better because the way I explain it. And most people kind of understand the way I explain because I just make it so in layman's term due to my own brain that it's actually helping people. So this is why this is a very important video, which is fine. It's not related to astrology, or it is related to astrology, but it's really related to you. When you are relying on your weakness for, and looking for success through that, don't run away from it. Practice it and make it better. It may not become perfect, but guess what? At least you can make your dreams come true. That's all. That's all we want. That's what we all want. We just want our dreams to come true. And especially when you are afraid of criticism, when you're afraid of being criticized by other people, just remember my 1/3 thing that I learned from Jeffrey. 1/3 will hate you, 1/3 will love you, 1/3 will not care for you, or 40% will not care for you. So I just work now on just to please the 1/3 that will always be there. All right. So guys, this was my little speech on weaknesses and your success. So if you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And if you want to know where your planetary placements are, what weaknesses you have and strengths, for that check out the links here and check out my full astrological reporting, look at my books, astrology, conjunction, and aspects of the speed of light, consultations, and all my magazines. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow with our nakshatra videos. Bye bye.